Hi, welcome back to Small Talk with Shania, Chapter 2, Episode 2. You guys, it's really hot in here today. I am so hot, I am parched, and it's probably because I'm going to be reading some of your guys' bookish hot takes today. I am so excited. I asked you guys on my Instagram the other day to give me some of your most wild, some of your most unhinged bookish hot takes, and y'all did not disappoint. Okay, you guys understood the assignment. I was so hoping that we would have some like really crazy ones and ones that were really controversial and like true hot takes. You guys really delivered. Okay. I don't remember all of them because it has been a couple days, but I do remember there were some where I was like, oh, okay, we're going there. Okay. So I hope that you guys enjoy this episode and enjoy some of these hot takes. I just want to say I don't necessarily agree with all of these ones. I'm going to give you guys like my full opinions and my full breakdown after I read them so you guys know how I truly feel. But yeah, I just want to say I don't necessarily agree with all of them, but this is just what you guys said, okay? It was you, it wasn't me. I don't want to get in trouble for any of the stuff that I'm about to say, but they're not too crazy. Some of them are just really, really fun as well. But this is going to be such an interesting time. I don't want to waste any time, okay? I want to get right into it. I want to get right into the hot takes and see what you guys had to say. This is going to be very, very interesting. Y'all understood the assignment with this one for real. Okay. Okay, we'll start off. Hold on. There's so many. I have to pick one that isn't too unhinged. Okay. Colleen Hoover is the best palate cleanser. I don't care about the scandals. She's easy to read. Okay. Um, how do I answer this one? I agree. I think that Colleen Hoover, honestly, she's one of the best palate cleansers. When I need a book to read, something to just kind of pull me out of a slump or something that I know I can read in like one sitting and it's just going to get me back into like the bookish world, I'm going to probably pick a Colleen Hoover book. I'm so incredibly sorry, but I agree with you on this one. I don't want to talk about the scandals because I honestly, I'm a little bit I'm a little bit uneducated when it comes to all of that stuff. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to get too much into it. If you guys want to talk about it amongst yourselves, that's totally fine. But yeah, she is easy to read. I will say that. And yeah, she does have some good palate cleanser type books. So I will say that. That is definitely a hot take, though. I will say. Romance books should not be over 400 pages. The fuck you gotta say? This one popped up twice, actually. So clearly, you guys have a really strong opinion about this. I 100,000, 10,000,000% agree with this. When I read a romance book, especially like a contemporary romance book, if it's more than 400 pages, I'm immediately turned off and I don't want to read it. I'm so sorry, but seriously, what do you have to say? Do the meet cute, meet, fall in love, have some conflict along the way, have a climax, multiple climaxes, if you know what I mean, and like get on with the story. There's no reason for it to be longer unless it's like a series. I get if it's a series, like, yeah, obviously you want to continue the story. There's probably a lot of characters, a lot of lore, and a lot of like world building that you have to do. I get that. But when it's a contemporary romance and I'm like reading about them falling in love and just going to like dates and they're just talking about their lives and, you know, maybe there's enemies to lovers or something, like, be so fucking for real. 400 pages? Really? Really? Now, I will say, this I'm probably very, very hypocritical when it comes to that because some of my favorite books ever are contemporary romances that are more than 400 pages or at least 400 pages. Say You Swear, for example, by Megan Brandy. That one is like maybe 600 pages long. One of my absolute favorite books in the entire world. I freaking love it. It's so good. I was a little upset and turned off that it was so incredibly long. It made me not want to read it and it made me very scared to read it because I didn't know how long it was going to take me and I was just very intimidated by it. But then once I read it, I understood that's a story where it needed to be that long because of everything that happened and all the characters and like the big plot twist and everything. Like that one I understand. If they're like that, then yes, I think that they can be over 400 pages, 500 pages, 600 pages. I get it. But if it's just like one standalone, if you're going to make it 400 pages, make it the most amazing book I've ever read in my entire life, to be honest with you. Okay? That's how I feel about that. I don't know if it's a hot take. Some people like longer books. More power to you, okay? I'm here for a good time. I'm not here for a long time. I don't know if that's bad. Oh my god, this one's really, I think, gonna ruffle some feathers with you guys. DNFing Fourth Wing. Um How do we feel about that? Okay, here's how I feel. Here's how I feel. Here's how I feel. I get it. Okay? First and foremost, I want to preface this by saying I 100% get it, especially if you are new to reading, which I know this particular person who sent this one in. I know them, and I know they don't read a lot. They're not like a huge reader. I get it. Valid, to be honest with you. Those books are so intimidating and they are so long and they have so many characters and they have so much going on every single page. If you're not paying attention to every single word that is said on those pages, you're immediately lost. Immediately. And there's 3 now. If you're not here for the entire series and you can't even get to the first one, I get it. I really do. I understand, okay? And it's hard because fantasy books are one of those things where it's like you either love it or you hate it, you know? Fourth Wing in particular is great because it's a romantasy. It has a lot of romance in it, a lot of action as well. But if you're not used to that, then yeah, it's going to be really difficult for you to read and it's going to be something that you might not want to pick up ever again. I definitely think that if someone does DNF Fourth Wing, I urge you to try and pick it up again or listen to it on audiobooks. I think that's where audiobooks come into play. They are so extremely important, especially for people who don't really read. Pick up an audiobook. I think it's going to be the best thing for you to be really immersed into it. And especially these because they have graphic audiobooks of all of the books in the Fourth Wing series. And I think that it could really change your mind. Even if you finish listening to Fourth Wing on audiobook and then you go into Iron Flame and then into Onyx Storm, just reading the actual book, like, why not? I think honestly that would be a really great way to change your mind on it. But long story short, I get it. I'm so sorry that you ended up DNFing it, but I do understand it, especially in the situation if you're not a reader. Okay. This next one absolutely makes me want to cry. It makes me want to have a mental breakdown, to be honest with you. I gave Archer's Voice 1 star. Yeah. We need to unpack that. Why? Why? I disagree. Let's have a debate about it. Let's discuss it, okay? Archer's Voice is one of my favorite books. Archer's Voice is one of the books that got me back into reading like 2 years ago. I picked it up just cuz someone said that they read it and they really liked it, and I picked it up and I'm not going to lie. After I read it the first time I was like, "Well, it was good." I was like, "I really enjoyed it." It had so many like twists and turns and it was emotional and it was whatever, like I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favorite. But then as I got to read more and went more into my reading journey, I realized that that is definitely one of my favorite books that I've ever read. And I love all the characters. Archer Hale is like one of the best book boyfriends ever. Him and Bree are endgame. They are the best. I loved reading their little epilogue or sorry, their epilogue was so freaking cute. It was just the cutest thing ever, and I love that book to my core. How you can give it 1 star, I don't understand. That's a really, really hot take, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think I've ever heard of anyone giving it a 1 star. I've definitely heard of some people giving it maybe like a 2 or 3 star because maybe they just don't vibe with it, but a 1 star? Why? I'm gonna need more context as to why you gave it a 1 star. No judgment. I mean, hey, just because I liked a book doesn't mean that you can't, and vice versa. I get it, but I also don't get it for this particular book. Like, why? Was it the characters? Was it the love story? Was it the town? Was it the experience where you're just not in the right mind space and the headspace for it? That's very valid as well. I won't even be mad at you for that. But it does hurt my heart a little bit. I'm not going to lie. My heart is a little crushed because I love it so much. So that is a hot take. Okay. And it's just going to get hotter, guys. Okay. That one crushed me. The next one crushes me even more, and it's going to crush you guys too. Okay. I really don't think that you're ready for it. So just be prepared. Okay. Take a sip of water real quick. Take a breath. ACOTAR is overhyped. I said what I said. I didn't say it. Someone else said it, but that is yeah, unacceptable, to be honest, right? What? Who? What? When? Where? Why? I don't know. That's all they said. ACOTAR is overhyped. Do we really want to dissect that more? Again, I'm going to bring this back to what I said about Fourth Wing. Fantasy is not for everyone, okay? I have heard of some people not liking ACOTAR, and that's completely fine. To say it's overhyped, I think is a little crazy because I think the hype is valid, especially for people who like are introducing fantasy and reading back into their lives. I think that's a good place to start. Fourth Wing, like we talked about earlier, is like crazy lore and characters and things like that. But ACOTAR, I think, is very easy for people to jump into especially when you're starting to read again and like love fantasy. To say it's overhyped, I think is definitely a little bit of a hot take, but I mean, I gotta respect your opinion. You know, I'm not gonna judge you, even if your opinion is wrong. I'm just kidding. You're not wrong, but you're not right, and that's fine too. That's fine, but you're wrong. ACOTAR is the best. Okay. We also okay. Here we go again. Wow. Everyone always talks about ACOTAR, but Throne of Glass is so much better. I can't say I've never read Throne of Glass, but as a group, how do we feel about that? I don't know what to say because I haven't read it. But again, I don't think ACOTAR is overhyped. I personally will never read Throne of Glass. I'm sorry. I won't because it is incredibly long. And like I said earlier, I'm here for a good time. I'm not here for a long time. And I just don't think, I said it once and I said it before, I will say it till the end of time. I don't think I'm smart enough to comprehend fantasy. And I think that's one of the books, the Throne of Glass series, where I'm not going to understand it. I think I'm too dumb to understand what is happening. And I've also heard that the Throne of Glass series is a little less romance, especially if you've already read ACOTAR and you're used to that. Going to Throne of Glass is going to be a little bit of like a jump scare for you because there is romance. I know that there is romance, but it's not as romance heavy as ACOTAR. That's just what I've been told. Again, I don't know if that's correct or not. I just know me, and I know that I will never read Throne of Glass. I won't even listen to the audiobooks, to be honest. My best friend's listening to the audiobooks. She's about to finish them. She's been listening to them for such a long time because again, they're like 24 to 30 hours long on audiobook. And I'm just I can't. I cannot. I love to read. I love audiobooks, but I think that pushes my limit, to be honest with you. So that's going to be a no from me. Again, I can't say if it is better than ACOTAR because I haven't read it, but you guys be the judge. I don't know. You let us know how you feel. These are crazy, you guys. That to say that ACOTAR is overhyped in the first place is just wild. I'm sorry. I can't. That's very mean. Anyways, moving on. Oh my God, I relate to this so hard. When something is wrong in the relationship, I read the last page to make sure they're okay. Guilty. 100% guilty. I do it every single time. Are you kidding me? If you don't do that, you're a liar. Yes, you have. I need to know that I did not just read over 300 pages of a love story and of characters that I'm absolutely obsessed with for them not to be together in the end. I will read ahead and I will make sure that they are endgame and that they get a happily ever after. I'm not ashamed about it. Okay. It's good for my mental health. It's good for my anxiety. I need to know that everything is going to be okay. You are not alone on that. Is that a hot take? I don't know. I've heard of other people doing that, and I've heard that, a lot of people also don't like that surprise at the end and only like to read books if they know it's going to be like a happily ever after type of situation. It's really just to protect my heart. At the end of the day, it's to protect me and my heart and my mind and my anxiety, like I said. Okay. So I agree with you 100,000%. Whether it's toxic or not, I do it. We have a couple of other crazy ones. Oh my gosh. Stop turning fantasy books into movies. It's so repetitive. We need a new genre. Wow. But okay, well, how do we feel about that? Because I love when fantasy books are turned into movies or to shows because, well, okay, it has to be done right. I think that this one is very valid if it is done correctly. Nothing scares me more than turning A Court of Thorns and Roses into a movie or into a show and having them absolutely destroy it. Or a Fourth Wing, I know that they're going to be turning that into something. Nothing scares me more than having them not cast 𝓲𝓸𝓷, right? Or anything. Like, it needs to be done correctly, it needs to do it justice. Otherwise, yes, I agree 1000%. Because especially when you are so attached to these books and you read them and you picture everything in your mind as you're reading it, you picture it as a show, you picture it as a movie, but in your mind, and you have this perfect cast and you have these perfect scenarios and this perfect backdrop. And if they don't deliver that correctly, I 100% agree. I think that that's valid to feel that way. I don't think that we need a new genre. I think that fantasy is going to always be one that's going to be turned into movies, especially from like a book adaptation or a book to movie adaptation. I guess some of them can get repetitive. It depends on what it's about. Like saying that Game of Thrones is the same as like ACOTAR, that's obviously not. They're completely different. But I get it. I would like to see a little bit more of like the contemporary romance books being turned into movies, which I know we're getting there. We have It Ends With Us. I think Beach Read is turning into one as well, or People We Meet on Vacation. I forget which one. People Meet on Vacation, I think, is the one. I think Magnolia Parks is going to be turned into a show or something eventually. So, I mean, we're getting there. I think that there's room for it for sure. And I think there's a lot of opportunity. But not to say that fantasy shouldn't still be made. I think that they definitely should. Um, oh my god. Bully trope is bad. Why is the FMC sleeping with the MMC 2 chapters after he made her life hell? Yes! Yes, yes, yes. I agree with you. Oh my god. I literally was just talking about this. If you guys watched one of my last episodes on the podcast, I literally talked about how I have discovered last year that I don't like the bully trope. I don't like it. It it gives me the biggest ick ever. I don't like when the MMC is literally so incredibly mean to the FMC. I'm a hopeless romantic, so I like to read about an MMC who is literally just crawling for her, would lick the ground for her, is just so down bad for her and would do anything, and he's so incredibly in love with her. I like that. When the MMC is calling her names or is just mean to her every chapter, doing mean things, bullying her, just in general bullying, that doesn't make me want to keep reading. That's not going to make me like you because then it makes me think, well, do you even like her as a person, as a human being? Do you even like yourself? Like, what is so wrong with you? And these are grown men who are acting like 16-year-old high school bullies towards an adult grown woman. Be so fucking for real right now. Be so fucking for real. It gives off, honestly, it gives off small D energy. And I'm not here for it. You know what book I recently just read too that I didn't like that whole bully trope with? Not that the book was bad or anything. But I just didn't like the MMC because he was a bully and it was basically like a bully trope was Vicious by LJ Shen. Love LJ Shen. I think that she writes some really great books. And this is not any hate to her or hate to the book. Please, like, come on. No, this is not that. I despised the MMC, which is like you're supposed to, right? She writes this MMC because he's supposed to be vicious. That's literally his name. And he's supposed to be unlikable and he's supposed to be this bully. He calls her Help as like his nickname for her. So he calls her Help and he calls her like all these mean names and like makes her his assistant, and he's just so mean to her. And even the way that like he talks about her family, like at the very end something happens to like her sister calls her or something like that. And he's like, I don't give a fuck about your sister. You know, I want to know where you're, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, something stupid. And like he was joking, but like he was also being really for real. And in my mind, I was like, how is this girl falling in love with him? Because I'm not falling in love with him. I don't like a bully trope. That's all I gotta say. Like how? I don't understand. I'm down to read more bully romances. I really am. I think that there's some out there that I might like. I just haven't found one yet, is all I gotta say. Powerless should be banned on how much it copies the Red Queen, and the plot is so bad and repetitive. Okay, I know that there's a lot of discourse going on about this. I know that there's a lot of people talking about this particular issue on TikTok. So let's talk about it. I have never read The Red Queen, so I'm probably the worst person to talk about this because I have absolutely no context. I have absolutely no prior knowledge or any type of information to really give into this situation. So I'm sorry that I'm not the right person to talk about this. I know there are other people on other social platforms that can, but essentially, people are saying that Powerless was a ripoff of The Red Queen. After seeing what the plot is about, the plot is it's pretty much spot on. Yeah. It's pretty much the exact same story. I told myself one day that I probably will never end up reading The Red Queen because I've heard that it's not a ton of romance. Again, when it comes to fantasy, it's hard for me. I've always said I'm not a huge fantasy person. Unless it has a lot of romance in it, I'm probably going to be a little bit lost and really intimidated to read it. That's just a me problem. I've heard that The Red Queen isn't heavy on the romance. So I don't think that I was ever really interested in reading it. But then when Powerless came out, that one seemed like it had a really great plot and that there was a lot of romance in it and that the characters were amazing and everyone loved it. So for me personally, I was more gravitated to read Powerless. Had no idea what Red Queen was about until all of this stuff came to fruition. Now, I think there's definitely a problem and there's a difference when it comes to just straight out plagiarism. And there's a difference of getting inspiration from one story and creating it to be your own. I've never read The Red Queen, so I can't say that this is a plagiarism thing or if it's an inspo thing or what. I cannot say, but I agree that things have gotten a little bit repetitive when it comes to like that kind of scheme. There are so many books that I have read or heard about that are inspiration from the Hunger Games or inspiration from one book for another. And I'm like, all right, I kind of I see a theme here. Clearly, we all read the same books while we were growing up, right? So yeah, I mean, I get that. I get being frustrated with that. And I understand that there's a lot of people who are very strong minded about that situation. Um, when you get to say the plot is so bad and repetitive, I love the plot. Powerless is one of my favorite fantasy books. I love the characters. I love the plot. I think it's such a great read and it makes me happy to read it. And I can't wait until the next one comes out. So for me, that's a hot take. I don't think it should be banned. That's a hot take. I don't know. I don't think it should be banned. That's a little aggressive. Um, so those are all the hot takes that I got, or at least like some of the main ones that I thought I wanted to mention for today's episode. I tried to think of a couple of hot takes that I have when it comes to books personally. There was definitely a couple in there that I agreed with for sure. I think another hot take that I have would be that, and I don't even think this is a hot take. These are like the ones that I have are so like I think universally agreed upon, but like I here's my philosophy when it comes to Kindles and when it comes to like physical books and buying physical books. I feel like maybe I have a hot take on it, but if a book is available on Kindle Unlimited. I'll probably listen to it on Kindle Unlimited, but I will still buy the physical book. But if the physical book that I have already existing in my collection is not on Kindle Unlimited, I will still buy the book on Kindle just so that I can read it on my Kindle. I know it's probably a waste of money to some of you guys, and some people might agree, some people might not. That's why I said it's a hot take. I will still buy it on my Kindle. Even if it's not on Kindle Unlimited, I will still buy the book because I like to read it on my Kindle. Okay? I don't unless I really want to read the book that like is physical like in my hands and I feel like it's a very special book that I need to have in my hands, I'll read it on my Kindle. I will. I don't know why. I have such an attachment to that thing. It's like one of my pacifiers or like my security blanket, my Kindle. I love it so so much. When it comes to audiobooks, I don't like when books don't have a duet style narration. It's not gonna make or break it for me because recently I've actually been listening to a lot of audiobooks that don't have duet style narration. And for those of you who don't know, duet style is when the man and the woman, the FMC and the MMC, have two different voice actors, but they talk at like the same time. So it's like a conversation versus the male character also doing the female character part and vice versa. I much prefer listening to a duet style narration for sure. Not going to make or break it for me, but I definitely would prefer that. I think a lot of people do too. That might not be necessarily a hot take, but I know some people just don't really care either. I definitely care about it. Let's see what else. Try to think if there's anything from like DNFing that I don't mind DNFing books. Maybe that's a hot take. There are so many people when I talk about DNFing books, like on my TikTok or on my social medias, I'm always that person who is like, don't waste your time. Life is too short to read books that you're not enjoying. So why not DNF a book? You know, some people get really angry at that because they're like, I'm reading the book fully. Like, I can't not finish the book. And to that, I say, girl, just no, just don't finish it. Move on. You don't have to keep torturing yourself like that. You know what I mean? It just, I don't, yeah, yeah. Just DNF it. What you got to lose? You ain't got nothing to lose. You only got time to lose, and you're gonna waste your time reading a book that you don't really like. So that's what I gotta say about that. I don't think I have any other like majorly hot takes personally. Everyone kind of covered everything. One of my main one was that I don't like when books are longer than 400 pages long because it just gets way too intense after that. Oh, I have a hot take. Again, I don't know if this is necessarily a hot take, but this is like something that I just I hate it. I hate the amnesia trope. A memory loss trope. I hate it. That is my absolute least favorite trope in the entire freaking world and one of my favorite books in the entire world has that trope. Isn't that weird? How it's my like least favorite trope ever, but yet one of my favorite books has that trope. It's so weird to me. But anytime a book has like a memory loss trope in it or has a scene where it's like, oh my god, the character lost his memory and now he has to figure everything out and remember her. Oh my god, it grinds my gears. I can't deal with it. You know what? But I'm not even gonna say it. Never mind because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But there was one book I read last year, and the first book was really, really good. And then the second book had that amnesia memory loss trope, and it just ruined everything for me. So, yeah, I feel very strongly about that one. I don't think I have any more hot takes today. I have to think of some more, but those are pretty much it. And you guys really covered most of the way that I was feeling about some of the books too. So I think that's it for today. If you guys have any more hot takes, please let me know. I'm definitely going to do another episode in the future talking about more hot takes because I know that you guys have more for me. So we'll save some more for the future. It's a little too hot in here today to keep going. So let's just put a chapter in today's chat. Or sorry, let's just put, I'm so all over the place. You guys have me so flustered with all of your hot takes. Let's go ahead and put a bookmark in today's chapter. And I'll see you guys in the next chapter. Bye.